Hey everybody, what up? Scuff D here, and today it is time to get back to the deck list videos. We've got World Cup coming on. We've got a lot of stuff going on. And before we get started here, really quick, if you have, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Be sure to like and comment and recommend the channel to anybody who wants to know about what's going on in Legions, what's going on in the World Cup, what's going on with the podcast, what's going on with decks, whatever. We've got all sorts of things here to do, and yeah, so let's get to it. This is a deck list video. This is for Nomus Rhy'tan. Kind of been working my way through the new warlords that were offered in Galaxy and Flames, finally getting to do videos for many of them. Some of them have had their heyday or had a really big surge where they're really popular. I stayed away from them. Nomus Rhy'tan was one of those warlords who initially came out, was terrible, got a significant buff, was overplayed, wasn't really like, oh, I'll just do another video to do Nomus because everybody else is doing Nomus. I waited a bit, but now we're here. We've got new cards for the Titan Death expansion, and I really found that the Titan Death expansion didn't need to add a whole lot to Nomus Rhy'tan. And since Nomus still works very well, just a little bit slower pace, I think, I want to show you, if you don't know what Nomus can do, and why he's a very strong Salamander choice for a warlord. So first off, he has Survivor 5, which gives him a total of 40 health. That's very nice. Whenever you play a teaching, he gains frontline until your next turn, and just for 2 energy, he can draw a card. The downside is he has low initiative, and as a Salamander with low initiative, that's very problematic. In addition, he does not create teachings, unlike Vulcan, who just has that ability to create a random teaching in your hand. Numian can give Survivor, Cash and Vaughn can burn, Nemetor does his own degree of protecting, but Nomus works with teachings and does not have the way to create them. So you need to put those in your deck. And the teaching cards themselves can be very handy, but they are very specific as to what they do. You've got Sorrow, which gives Survivor 1 to a friendly troop and lets you draw a card for 2 energy. Very nice. You've also got Benevolence, which is pretty nice now. Heal 4 to a friendly unit, and if it's got Sacrifice, trigger it. You don't even have to heal it. Sometimes you just use it for the sacrifice and trigger if you need to. Devotion, which gives +1/+1 to your troops, but if you don't have any troops, you get to put in play 2 of these Sorkar Hunters. That's 2/1 with the Survivor 1, which is very nice. Hope is another teaching that draws a troop from your deck. It costs 2 less. And then the last teaching gets into is Resilience, which choose a friendly Astartes that died this game and put it in play. That's the teachings. That's it. So at most, if you had all 2 copies of each of those teachings in there, you could gain frontline 10 times in the game. But I think as I played with the deck, as I found the right speed for me, I don't think I need all 10 teachings. So let's go ahead and show a game, do a replay here, and then break down the deck and kind of explain the cards I use and why I use them more than anything. So with regards to this, this is okay. This is okay. This is really good, actually, right here. Especially against Ermin, who can copy. If he's copying the with his special ability, copying one of the teachings, while that is decent for him, this card won't do him much if he doesn't have Sacrifice, and it really won't gain the secondary benefit for him, which is giving frontline to my unit. So when it comes to the teachings, it's really what you're getting is you're getting 2 things. You've got a frontline warlord here. Even though Nomus Rhy'tan doesn't necessarily gain frontline or give frontline in the way that traditional frontline warlords do, like Ornithov, Latara, Duquesne, Cork, he has the ability to get frontline when you play the teaching on demand. So you need to know what you're playing, and as long as you know what you're playing when you're playing it, you're going to gain that benefit plus the benefit of frontline, and that is pretty big. That's very significant in terms of allowing you to get a benefit and then get a secondary benefit, which is your warlord getting frontline. What does that do? That shuts off flanking for the most part from your opponent. They just don't have flanking. They're just not going to get it. Sorry, no flanking for you. Like, that's pretty significant. that's pretty significant, actually. Like, when you've got a when you can just deny the strategy Space Wolves use, Night Lords use, a lot of units use Raven Guard. If they don't have frontline, they don't have a way to cause damage. They don't have a way to gain additional damage. They've got to use tactics, and if you've got units that have got Survivor on them, then those tactics are not going to be quite as effective, which is very nice. And then you've got ways to basically, like, deny them that. Here I am. Like, this normally here, this would be a fair trade for him. He could throw that 3/3 into one of these units, or maybe both of them. What I've done instead is basically set up, so now I've got a sacrifice that can destroy a unit. I've got, Survivor on both my things. I've got a sacrifice here that can gain a teaching. I'm forcing him to blow all his psych or energy just to remove those 2 cards. It's not going to be enough for him. I've still got this card on the table, and he's just throwing cards away to deal with it, and I'm still up by 6 health now because of that Survivor 1. And it gets even better once you start playing cards like Storm Eagle to stun, or if you're able to play Mount Deathfire and return those cards from the graveyard and back in, and then play something like Benevolence or Hope or Devotion prior to dropping those units on the board. So you get a full board of Survivor units that basically are protected from flanking, only going to be affected by tactics. And yeah, like, that's the way to go. So we'll go ahead right here. We'll gain frontline. I can totally eat 9 damage, but I'm actually going to eat 5 less because of that wonderful tactic ability. We'll go ahead and play down 2. He doesn't have enough here for an Astral Warfare. He's just not going to get it. But to make sure that this guy survives a second Oncto, we'll go ahead and throw that out there. And then him choosing that precog, sure, I can't destroy it. I can Ashen Bones it though. And I'm going to. I'm going to Ashen Bones it. We can gain frontline. One thing I would recommend, I don't know personally, I don't know if others recommend this the same way, but what I've found is when you have those teachings and you have multiple teachings out there, try to avoid playing all of them in one turn. And I know that's tempting. I could have played Devotion and the Hope, but really, if I play both, then I'm missing the opportunity to throw down a frontline a second time in addition to the ability. You don't want to blow it all at once. You've got to kind of pace yourself. The Salamanders are a little tedious, but there's a reason for that. They're tedious, but they're effective if you let that be their thing. If you just try to rush them, you're going to lose some of the resource to them. I think there's a rushing Salamanders is kind of an oxymoron, really, but like, you have to feel it out. You have to know what they can do, and if you try going too fast, you're going to run out of resources because your opponent can answer what you dropped on there. Maybe you spread out too thin, defensive satellites, or a rain of fire, something like that. So here's the deck. Here's what I've got. I don't know if this is the same as everybody else does Raitan, if there's similar things or not, but I have found, in general, this tends to work. Earlier, I was running a Resilience as well as 2 Mount Deathfire, but I just found that was too many 5 costs that I didn't want. I really wanted to keep it low cost so I could either use my ability or combo play or use a Mount Deathfire and get several cheap troops faster. So this is what I've got. I've got Escape Vent. Escape Vent is very nice for any of my troops that I cannot immediately frontline and protect, whether that's Antitar Squad, whether that is Roshan Squad, maybe it's wonderful Chaplain Xavier. If I could throw down an Escape Vent on him, cool, he's going to survive. He's going to give Survivor 1 to units that are adjacent to him, and then I can possibly use him to sacrifice and gain another teaching, which is very nice. I only have 1 Hope. I was running 2 Hope for a while there with a couple extra 5 cost, but as I cut down the 5 cost cards to basically just 3, Dalar Veteran and Ancient Dackler, I found only 1 Hope was necessary because typically otherwise I'm paying 3 energy to get a 3 energy troop, and it's 1 cost less. It's not worthwhile. It's 2 cost less, but it's still not worthwhile. I'd rather pay 2 energy just to draw with Nomus at that point. So I dropped a Hope, I dropped a Resilience, I kept the Double Sorrow, because Survivor 1 plus a card draw in the Salamanders is just too good. Benevolence, too good. You double that up with Antitar Squad, you're destroying things, or maybe you double it up with Disciple or a Pistoler Raitan, just too good. And then 2 times Devotion early game. This is going to give you 2 Sorcerer Hunters. Late game, it could give you a boost. I personally run 2 Dalar Veterans. I know they're common. They're 5/4 with Survivor 2. There's nothing spectacular about them except the fact that they're 5/4. And the fact that they cost 5. I was running a Fire Drake for a while. And running the old Fire Drake and... that 2 cost... Fierce Onslaught, which is not bad. Giving him a battle honor, he can act again and destroy everything. That's cool. It's a little combo-y, and I really just want to end the game. I don't want to get to 7 energy and play around with it and hope that he survives. I just want to end the game. In the same way, I also chose not to roll with Xavier and blowing up things with multiple teachings and benevolence on him. So I don't do that. That's just too high cost for me. I found that as much as the Salamanders got some new cards in play with the Galaxy in Flames, Mount Deathfire's it. Like, there's nothing, none of these new neutral cards. As far as cultists go, Solar Auxilia, not necessary, not doing anything. This is just a tried and true Salamanders, and it works. It works. Aside from the escape vents, which are the only non-faction card in here, this works really well. 16 tactics is a lot, but your troops all have got survivor, all have got durability. 2 of those tactics have the potential to basically make troops, which is nice. You've got troops that can then keep your troops along further, or create additional tactics that can create more troops, or bring back troops to life with Mount Deathfire. So these are all good. Udrikul is just a good, like, pinch hard removal. Very nice if your opponent's running some drop pods. You can just destroy that drop pod for free and just, whatever's inside of it. Dackler just does work. This is just good legendary stuff, but relatively light on the legendaries, heavy on the epics. Antitar, Raitan, Mount Deathfire. If you don't have Mount Deathfire and you want to run Salamanders, you're going to have to look at a different build. Nomus Rhy'tan, I don't think, is for you. I don't think his ability works well with just standard burn Salamanders. I think you're looking more for like Cash and Vaughn, maybe even Vulcan. You could do it. I just don't think you'd have as much success as if you just stayed to the tried and true. Antitar is very handy, as you saw in that game there with Armon, just in terms of early denial, forcing your opponent to deal with this card, and if they cannot, it will be a thorn in their side the whole way through. So let's take a look at a couple more replays and talk about some things that you want to kind of keep in mind with Nomus, as well as maybe some card options that you could consider if you want to mix it up. So why did I pick this one here with a Proctor? I was like, nobody plays Proctor, he's just a challenge deck. That might be true. That might be true. But I think Proctor's not bad. I think especially with Titan Death, even though Endurance or Ordnance hurts a lot of vehicles, just the fact that you can make multiple vehicles. Death of Innocence combos with multiple troops that he can pump out, and they all gain things. I'm like, here's a game. The real reason why I'm showing it is because this is a game where really you start out at a very bad position. This is not a great place for me to start out with. Even though he's only got 2 cards in hand, he's got a way to make his vehicles cheap. He's got protection with frontline. He's got a vehicle stealth. Like, this is a great turn. This is the optimal play for Proctor. This is probably the best play that he's got. So the reason I'm showing this game is how you can take a situation where you start out at disadvantage and really benefit with the Salamander's resilience more than anything. And that's using that survivor for that extra health, picking and choosing when to go face, when to strike, and then really just like keeping things alive forcing your opponent to basically give up the advantage that they have just to answer with what you've got on table, and then that really leaves you open to play more things on table. So here he is. He's thrown away a decent card. He hasn't. It's not crucial, Forbidden Protocols by any means, but it is a card that basically, okay, great, I can deal with that on my turn. Moreover, not only can I deal with that on my turn, but then if I need to, I can throw down Xavier, give myself Survivor here. So now he still has, instead of making troops every turn like he should be doing, he didn't. Because he's been attacking. He's had a follow-up attack with his warlord. And instead of having 2 extra units, 4 extra units to work with, he literally has got to throw away things. Throw away his warlord's ability to create those troops just to answer with this Roshan squad, which has been out almost the whole time. So I know that that's going to get stronger. I don't mind it getting stronger. I can kind of deal with it. What I want to deal with is I want to whittle down that Proctor health. And again, I've got Survivor 4-3 here. If he wants to deal with this, he's going to have to face strike it. He's going to have to face strike it with his warlord. And then that means that, again, he's not making units. He's just giving up. He decides not to. He decides not to use the 5-6 either, which is too bad. Because the Benevolence will really kind of help capitalize it. I could have played, if he would have lost one of those units, I could have played Mount Deathfire, followed up with an Escape Vent. Chose not to. We'll keep it this way. This is rather clean and simple. Protect this just from a sabotage, because he's got Mechanicum cards. So even though he's got cards in hand, he's given up a lot of turns playing units that he could have played, and now he's playing some big stuff. It's too late. It's too late, he doesn't know it. It's too late, buddy. Because we're about to destroy some things. But Proctor games are fun. I enjoy Proctor. I know that he doesn't get a whole lot of love. I don't think he was expecting the Mount Deathfire, but you really should be expecting the Mount Deathfire. Quite frankly, you should be expecting the Mount Deathfire. And basically, I've got my units back. Sure, I've only got 2 cards in hand, but I just played a tactic that made 3 cards. All of these cards that are on the table now have got Survivor. They're all going to pull extra duty. I've got Survivor 7 on my Warlord. I've also got a Teaching in my hand to give +1 attack. Like, this is where, if you don't have the way to answer what these Salamanders can drop early, it gets troublesome. What you do need to keep in mind, though, with the Salamanders, is that despite the fact that they've got that resilience, they've got that endurance, they've got the ability to come back, they don't have a whole lot of speed. They don't have any flanking, so you really are relying on ways to keep your stuff alive. And that's why playing those teachings carefully, one after the other, not all at once, to give yourself some frontline breathing space. Like, be willing to take some hits. You kind of want to sometimes if you want a unit to trigger its sacrifice ability. You know, that's not too bad of an option. I'm not going to play Hope, even though it's a good time to draw it. Like, I'm going to play something that's going to give me 2 bodies instead, as well as frontline. It's a good turn 2 play. And then, you know, wear them down without wearing yourself down. I don't know how to best explain that, quite frankly, but this is a good example of, like, flank denial. Like, not only does he have the flank denial, but then quite easily I can decide to, okay, well, that's great that you threw that 2-1 out. You're not going to get the Requiem from Amit's ability, and I'm not going to give you the Requiem from this unit's ability to draw a card. I'm just going to kill it. You get nothing. You don't get a mission tick down. You don't get a card draw. You don't get an extra damage ping. You've got to do that on your next turn. You've gained nothing here. Like, it's flank denial is so great, and this is just one of many decks that that show that. If you haven't already, please check out all of the fun frontline Warlord videos I've done so far. I don't know if I've done them all. I think I've done a lot of them. They all kind of show the same thing, like just either generating troops or denying your opponent the ability to flank. I cannot stated enough. That's way more powerful than people let on, especially as flank has become just something everybody's got. Like, there are few units that don't. Agents of the Sigilate don't have flank. Salamanders don't have flank. Knight households don't have flank, but really they have weapons that work that way. Orphans of War just gained a very powerful flank. If you've got ways to deny them flanking, they really get frustrated because they think, oh, this card will be good for me, and it's a good card in other games, but not against games where you can't flank effectively. Then it just becomes, well, I guess I'll put this troop on the board. And this card here, that's a great play. That's probably the best play you could do. The problem is I've got survivors, so instead of killing both, he's just killed one and given me the ability to basically keep two more alive longer, and I don't mind that at all. Like, I'm up 24 to 22, 23 to 22. I've got two units going strong. We've got a Mount Deathfire just about primed. You want to keep in mind, like, don't play Mount Deathfire if you haven't put 3 troops in the graveyard. And be mindful of the 3 troops you put in the graveyard, because if you're bringing back and you've put in like 4 Sorkar Hunters, do you really want to play a Mount Deathfire and just get 3 free Sorkar Hunters? Like, there needs to be a better play for that. It really does. You got to be smart about it. You got to be smart. So, other things to keep in mind, if your opponent has the ability to sabotage, if your opponent has the ability to hard remove, those are probably going to be your biggest things. Melgator is a pain. Melgator is a problem because most of your troops, aside from those veterans of 5-4, which is why I have them in there, is they can't be Melgatored. I can put them in stealth if I need to. They can survive like a Joker company. They can survive a defensive satellites because they've got Survivor. So I really benefit a lot from having those cards in my deck to try to kind of cover the weakness that Melgator can create. And then we've got the ability now to just play 3 cards, as well as play a Hope, which is going to give me frontline and keep my stuff around longer, and I can put Hope on Xavier to give him Survivor, to keep him around longer. I choose instead to go wide, because why not? Like, at this point, at best, if he's got a Crimson Spectre, everything's got Survivor here, he's not going to gain any more than 2 life as a result of it, and I'll lose 1 card. He doesn't have that, and the hurt is a coming. Like, I figure, yeah, why not? Like, let's put that in there now. Like, let's just do it. Like, all right, cool, you got a drop pod. You don't have anything. I will gladly take that. That's cool. So, do I pick which one to give it to? If I'm given frontline, I'm denied his flankers. I've got the ability. This is going to do a lot more damage. I'm going to have sacrifice here. I want to keep that just in case. It doesn't matter at this point. Like, even with the Spirit Telesto, that's a great Spirit Telesto play. It doesn't matter. This is game right here.
In the name of Baal and terror, I salute my rank.
And it was a good game. I mean, he didn't play anything wrong. It was just the the health pool and basically denying his ability to deal the flanking. So yeah. So what to keep in mind? What options can you have if you don't want to run Raitan? I think Orbital Combat is a very good card to include as a 1 of, maybe a 2 of. Honestly, if you're running into a lot of games where your opponent is running tactics, Titans kind of make that an issue. As a 2 copy, if I were to put 2 Orbital Combat in there, I might drop a Dollar Veterans. I might drop a ATOC. I might have to drop one of my other tactics instead. It's not a bad card. It's a good card to include. When it comes to the rest of the Salamanders card pool, though, quite frankly, I feel like the only other card that you might consider, like if you don't have Mount Deathfire, 2 Resilience is your best thing to do. Otherwise, like I said earlier, don't play that deck style with Nomus, it's not going to work. And then really you just take a look at other cards. What else can he protect that you can benefit? What else can you play teachings on? Teachings can work on any troops for the most part. So how about Jubok? How about Kaizalane? Maybe you want to go with something that makes mech and dendrites, which then can work and increase the longevity or the reach of your Astartes. It might be beneficial to consider an asteroid belt for your turn 2 to gain some health, and maybe you want to go with the higher cost Astartes. You could go with the Fire Drakes and the Frenzy. But not the Frenzy, the Fierce Onslaught. I knew it started with an F. The Fierce Onslaught there. That's not a bad closer or a good board clear. As you'll note, I don't have any board clear here besides Epistolary Raitan and the Antitar squad. So maybe what you want to include instead is a defensive satellites or a artillery strike. An informant network would not be a bad thing either. That's always a good card to have. I've opted out of it because I really am relying on the splash and burn, and those decks that have stealth and require setup sometimes take long enough where really then at that point the early game of the Salamanders can get rolling. And that's really where like it's a speed thing. Like even though Salamanders are not fast in those matchups, they have to be addressed quickly. And if your opponent doesn't have the things to address it quickly, they will suffer. If you're facing Raven Guard, that's a good option when you want to have that orbital combat maybe to throw off their tactics for their combo, and then you just play that smartly. Maybe in place of a teaching gaining frontline, instead you're basically shutting your opponent's tactics off for a turn. Making all their stuff cost 3 more and drawing a card is a very nice card. It's a very good play. You could also do something, Orntov's Barge is just some extra frontline, not necessarily doing anything for your warlord, but just in terms of protecting any other troops you've got. I really think, though, you should keep in mind that Escape Vent, very handy for making sure that your sacrifice troops stick around a little longer. At least keep one of those in there. If you're not going with the sacrifice route, if you scale down on the sacrifice troops, then take them out and throw some other stuff in there. And that's when you're really going to open things up there. But really, the Escape Vent is to protect what you can't protect with frontline, whether that's from unstoppable troops or tactic burn or sabotage. It's a very handy card to consider. So I hope that's been some good ideas for you guys. Let me know what success you've had with Nomus Rhy'tan. If you haven't played him yet, hopefully this kind of gets you thinking. He's not bad. I don't know if he's not my favorite character as far as the Salamanders go. I do think Numeon's a great character for that, and Vulcan's pretty good. But I like the way he plays. I think he plays on a different style than Vulcan plays, and I enjoy that. I think the Salamanders needed that mix. It's a shame that we don't really have anything for Numeon and Nemetor, but really we've got a lot of new cards that work for them just as well, just in a different way. The difference is Numeon gives Survivor consistently, reliably. Nomus helps your troops stay alive in a different way. And that's the best way I can explain it. So that's it for me, guys. Until next time, keep playing Legions, and we'll talk to you later.